you can't be an asshole, right? Like, I can't just hit you and be like, this is what I'm offering, because then they're not going to want to do business with you either. But what you do have to do is you do have to hit them a little hard.
Jordan Belfort's got the straight line technique. We call it surfing the straight line. So we want you to ride that wave of that conversation where appropriate, but you always come back to the assembly line of that consultation.
You need the value and you need the belief. And if you don't believe yourself and what you're saying and what you're doing, then the seller's not going to do business with you either.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Leads to Deals podcast, where we talk about everything from leads to deals and everything we talk about leads to deals. If you're watching this podcast right now, this YouTube, we know that you are somebody who's looking to improve your life, pick up strategies, sales skills to make more money. This episode is proudly sponsored by SynergyData.io, your real estate data source. No matter if you're a wholesaler, investor, in solar, mortgage, if you need real estate data, go to SynergyData.io. And today I'm super stoked to have somebody here in studio. It's somebody I've been following on social media for a while now. You may or may not recognize him because normally he doesn't have a shirt on when he's on social media. So I'm proud to announce somebody that I've got to know and got to really kind of learn some strategies from, the Shirtless Closer, Joey Bibbo. Dude, welcome to Pareto. Welcome to the Leads to Deals podcast.
Hell yeah, bro. Thanks for having me today.
All right, so we're going to talk about what we were just talking about off mic, which is getting people shirtless on podcasts. So I don't know if we'll make it there shirtless today, but can you just give us a rundown how and why you're always half naked on Instagram?
Absolutely. So the first time I ever went live half naked was I was literally like, I've been calling with my shirt off just because like I work from home. I've been doing this business from home literally since I got in the industry. And that was one of the best things that dragged me into wholesaling. Because when I first, like before wholesaling, I was doing sales and insurance, financial planning, and I used to have to wear a suit every fucking day and I hated it. So since then, and I used to have to commute 2 hours into the city, into Queens, actually past the city from New Jersey. So I hated just doing the commute every day. I hated having to wear the suit and like look all professional when that's just not me naturally. Yeah. So once I started doing live streaming, there was one day with my old mentor, I was basically just got out of the shower, was like a couple minutes late to the live, whatever, and literally still had my shirt, I think it was like over my shoulder, was like about to put it on. And he's like, Joey, you're going live shirtless today. And I'm like, fuck, no, absolutely not. And then he's like, no, you're doing it. So that's kind of how it started. Next live I was on, I was actually shirtless, or no, we had the shirt on. The people in the chat were like, Joey, why the fuck is your shirt on? Took it off for that live. And then that's kind of how we became the shirt.
Birth to the Shirtless Closer. How long ago was that?
That was last August.
Nice. Oh, so literally just 4 months or so?
No.
The August the previous year. All right, cool. Yeah, because I was like, damn, you post a lot of content with no clothes on.
Oh, yeah.
I was surprised the very first time we talked that I met him on Zoom that, in fact, you actually had a shirt on. But that's good, man. I guess it's good for HR. You know, it's a good thing to have to deal with on your end. We haven't gone shirtless here in my office. I think it's maybe something we should introduce.
Until today,
which we might be able to get a couple of people shirtless today. So, all right, cool, man. So the reason why I followed you is because you're a closer, right? And I fucking love just knowing what people are doing and the strategies, etc. But you had something to do with Colombia, and that's how I first kind of stumbled across you, or vice versa. So what is your connection? Because you're a guy from New Jersey,
yep,
and we're here in our podcast studio in Colombia, South America. But how are you here in Colombia? What's that connection?
So I've been traveling to South America my entire life. My stepdad was Brazilian. I went to Brazil 10 times growing up. So I always had, like, I loved it down here. Then I started going to Ecuador with some of my friends. My friend's girlfriend, now wife, was from Ecuador. So we went to visit her family the first time. Then I fell in love with Ecuador, and I was like, I kind of want to move to South America. First time I went to Ecuador, was there for 2.5 weeks. When I got back, I was eating like shit, and I actually got skinnier. And once I saw that happen, I was like, there's something here that's it's just the food quality. And obviously it's fucking beautiful. Yeah. Anywhere in South America is gorgeous. So that was the one thing that was like, okay, like I kind of don't like how I feel since I've been back. Let me kind of start making my business so I can get down to South America. And then Colombia was the next stop for me. I was like, let me check Colombia out, see if I like Colombia better than Ecuador, which I came here. I fucking love Colombia. And then I literally was supposed to stay for a month. I ended up staying for 3 months, met my girlfriend down here, and then that's kind of what opened it all up. And then ever since then, that was last year, I was here 6 months last year, just got back down here, getting my visa here now, and I'm here full time.
It's kind of like a similar mindset that I had. Is like when I found out about wholesaling, I was like, oh, first off, like the whole concept blew my mind. And I came into it late. Like I only heard about it 4.5 years ago. I'd already been successful in a couple other business ventures. And then I heard about it and I was just like, wait a minute. So I don't even have to acquire the property and like I can just flip a piece of paper. It made me think like the commodities exchange, like you would see in Chicago or maybe even New York, like people hustling pieces of paper. But then I was like, oh, this is a true laptop lifestyle business. Like you really have the opportunity, maybe if you don't want to go too crazy or even moderately crazy, where in fact, that's what my whole vision was. I was like, originally, dude, just going to travel, move to South America, move to Panama, wherever it may be. Ultimately, I ended up just trying to create a big company here. But I think wholesaling, people don't really appreciate that you can do it literally from anywhere in the world, proven by us.
100%.
We're both closing volume in the United States without ever being in the country. And so was that your original vision, was to come to this industry because of that laptop lifestyle, digital nomad thought?
It was honestly initially wasn't the digital nomad thought. Initially for me, it was more just the fact that I was selling life insurance. And in life insurance, it's like you can kind of convince people that don't want it at that very moment to buy life insurance. Whereas with wholesaling, the thing that I fucking loved was you're either selling your house or you're not. And like, I don't have to convince you to do anything. Obviously, if you're a closable seller, then there is some form of sales skills that you have to have. Yeah. And then eventually you got to get people out of their ego and things like that. But I don't have to be like, are you selling your house? No. Okay, cool. And then like, I'm now trying to convince you to sell the freaking house. It was either yes or no. And that was really what did it. Then as I started to go back down to South America, saw the digital nomad lifestyle, then I was like, fuck yeah, like I'm staying fully virtual. And I just love that fact of it now too.
So life insurance, how long did you do life insurance?
4 years.
4 years, pretty long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Life insurance is one of those things that probably has a high turnover rate, but if you can stick in there and make money, you're going to be okay. How did you source your leads for life insurance?
Like family and friends.
Yes.
There was I didn't know what lead generation was back then.
Okay.
It wasn't even a thing for us. Like my mentor back then, or boss, whatever you want to call him, that was just, he did everything through his family and friends. So that was kind of how we went about it. And then we were supposed to get lists. We started cross-selling like P&C list clients on property and casualty insurance, stuff like that. So that was how we started to do a little bit of lead generation. But
so in the 4 years, you never like, everything was word of mouth, friends and family type thing?
Oh yeah.
How big's your family to go 4 years of
Oh bro, I was broke. It's not like I was like, if I was killing it, I probably would have still stayed in it.
Yeah.
I was at the point where like I would close some deals and I was like able to get by, but I was living home with my mother, bro. Like I didn't have we didn't have systems, we didn't have people, I didn't have any of this shit. Yeah. All I had was I drove into the Queens every fucking day and I had a phone and I'm just calling my family, I'm calling my friends, I'm calling people to try to get meetings with them. And the worst part was like I wasn't even calling them like I'm trying to sell you life insurance. I was calling them like, hey, I just got in the business. I just want to talk to you about what I'm doing. And it was like this, like not laziest, but just like almost deceptive approach. And I didn't like it.
It's kind of like MLM. Like you'll have somebody that just shows up at your door. And this was prevalent a long time ago. But I just remember those vibes where somebody would come to the house and the family and it would take a little while. And all of a sudden, like a magazine would come out or something else would come out. And you'd be like, oh, this is an MLM bitch, bro. What are you doing to me? I thought we were boys. Do you think you would be as successful as you are in sales and communication today had it not been for life insurance? Did you learn any type of sales strategy skills there?
I would not be where I am today if I didn't go through that for a fact. Because once we got into wholesaling, I had sales skills. And before then, for 6 months, because just really quick story, I was working right out of college, dropped out of college actually, was working at a financial planning firm in Boston because I went to school up in Rhode Island. And basically, long story short, was going to get all my licenses. They closed the branch down on me, had to get another job. I was in a call center, literally just setting appointments for IT companies. And that was just until the guy that I had in Queens opened the office there. So I literally had the plan, I'm here for 6 months. Let me make as much as I can. So that was I was cold calling before then at the first financial planning firm. Then I did the call center. And then everything I learned between that cold calling, the center we were at, and then like in-person selling, that would definitely made it possible for us to get into wholesaling. And then,
I think about life insurance and I think like, okay, cool. Maybe they're interested, but it's not a high need product. So there's probably not overwhelmingly that much of a difference between a seller who's open to the idea of selling, but doesn't necessarily need it. And then also a person who is like, yeah, I'm open to hearing what you got to say. I could use it, but it's also not a necessary product. It's not like, hey, I need it to get it to my job. I need it to be able to get some other advancement in my life. Life insurance is kind of a boringish product, right? You never really get to use it. And so what are some of the sales tactics or offer positioning, et cetera, that you gathered from that? You're like, yo, this helped me out in wholesaling.
So just explaining how to pitch a product, almost like pitching a deal. Like I literally not just pitched like life insurance, like term life, where it's like when you die, your family's going to get money. We were pitching whole life. I was with Mass Mutual. So we were going over like infinite banking, how to use life insurance as a bank account. So once I learned all that stuff and then applied it into actually teaching it to people, like I believe in it. It's fucking sick. Once you see how those things are structured, it's definitely a good tool to use. But it's just like, for me, it was having to convince people of that. And then my family and friends at the time, like my friends were all out of college. So they don't have fucking money to go fund a whole life policy.
And they don't care about the health or what's going to happen 20 years from now for the most part. Yeah.
Exactly. And it showed us how to use urgency as well, because when you would pitch term to get them into a whole life in a couple of years and like basically lock in their health.
Yeah.
And that was like the sales pitch for life insurance.
Yeah, I think back too, man. I originally started at 20 years old, timeshare sales. And so you just learn so much about the underbelly of so many of these industries out there. But the sales fundamentals are the exact same fundamentals that are used today because they're universal. And it's like, I'll go and read somebody's sales book. I was going through Jordan Belfort's content this morning. You know, his thing is all about the straight line technique. And the straight line technique, well, it's really not that much different than when your boss said, just stick to the process, stick to the process. And you had different stages of your presentation. It's all the same kind of fundamentals. And if all of a sudden you hit a roadblock, loop, he would call it loop, or go back in and build value. But I think all the principles are the same. It's just where can you go to study under or study with somebody to learn the principles of sales and be able to shortcut the growth for wholesaling as you've done. So do you give a lot of that credit to your mentors that you had, books, YouTube? Like where's your education coming from over the last 5 years?
Failing forward. Is probably one of the biggest ones. And then definitely mentors I had, all the experiences. I mean, even life insurance, you learn prospecting, you learn sales, you learn closing, you learn those sides of it. But definitely, I mean, first couple of years in wholesaling, I didn't have a mentor. I failed the fuck forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Tell the people what that means. When you say you fail forward, what are some of those mistakes that somehow printed him money later?
So basically, I got into wholesaling in March of 2020, like going into COVID, basically. And that was when everything happened with the insurance company. I basically parted ways with the boss I was working with at the time. And all that it showed was like, I had a kid that was teaching us how to wholesale.
Yep.
He never closed the deal himself. We thought he did, but he had all the information. He had probably had analysis paralysis for 2 years going into it. So like, I'm thinking the kid's closing all these deals, whatever. And I learned the process from him. But the second that I started getting on the phones and started taking the action and I saw he didn't know what he was doing because he kept trying to do all these little pivots and I'm like, this is not making sense. Yeah. He doesn't have his shit together. Then we just like left him. We had another mentor that was like a mortgage broker, real estate guy. I don't know what the heck he was. He had taught us a little bit about real estate and mortgages. And then I, for basically 3 to 4 months straight, hit the phones with my old partner at the time on a ready mode dialer that was then called back then.
I remember.
And once I found there was a speed dialer, like I was so excited. We just took action. And then it took us 8 months to close our first 2 deals. And when I say fail forward, like it wasn't like I had someone to go to at the time. Yeah. So it was like we got the deal under contract. We were fucking terrified. Deal went like past closing dates. Ladies almost like in foreclosure, like pre-foreclosure and shit. Like anything that you are afraid of going into, it definitely came up at once. And it shaped a lot of the lessons we learned from that deal. And it was 2 at once. And it was funny because the first one was a 15K assignment. The second one was a 20K assignment. They closed the same week. But the first one was like just everything that could go wrong did go wrong. The second one, there was a squatter that we actually had to pay like a G to or whatever. I don't even know how the fuck I had a G back then. But we paid a grand to this guy to get out of the house. And that one was like everything that could go right did go right. Like the buyer got locked in after like a week, got closed in like 30 days to the day. Like from that, perfect lawyer, perfect situation. And then the first one was just terrible. So it just showed us like, it could be good. It could be really bad. So
I see guys like you and I say, okay, cool. Resilience. Because 8 months is not a short time when you're beating your head against the wall with no revenue coming in from what your practice is. 8 months without that first deal coming through. And then you think, like, how many people out there quit on month 7 of their journey, or month 6, or month 5, or month 4, or whatever it may be. And it's like, it's crazy that, it's a testament to you. It's a testament to the winners in this industry, man. The winners, like the Shirtless Closer, stick through it. And then sometimes I'll get people who get a deal right out of the gates. And then sometimes that's the kiss of death. Because that's the other thing. They think, oh, this is so easy. I get, boom, first weekend, I got a deal, locked it up, 30K. And it's not that it's not easy, but that is not going to be indicative of the rest of your journey. And then all of a sudden they pull off and it just crashes from there.
100%. And it's like, unless they had other hard things in their life that taught them the grit,
Amen.
When the hard things start happening, that's when it gets real. And a lot of times they fold because they're like, wait, but my first deal made fucking 40 grand. It happened in a week. And it's like, that's not the reality of the business. I mean, once you get your systems, processes, people in place, that can absolutely be the reality. But to get there, obviously, there is going to be a grind, and there is going to be a little bit of a struggle. You got to get.
I have a theory about successful men, and I think it pisses off a lot of women out there, because a lot of guys, I think about it like myself. It's like, it's really hard for me to be sorry for being wrong, because it's not even matter. It's like, oh, that's a lesson learned, so it evens it up for me. And so it's like, oh, I failed at this thing, but I'm not going to sit back and look at it as a failure. No, that was an investment into this next success. And so guys like him, the same thing as well, too. It's like, dude, you failed. But it wasn't like it's the end of the world. It's like, oh, I'm one step closer. I'm one step closer. What marketing channel were your first 2 deals?
Cold calling or sales?
Cold calling. Bam. Cold calling worked then, and it works now.
Always works. I mean, fuck, bro. That is one thing that will never stop, in my opinion. And it's like, obviously, whatever, but cold calling is, you're going direct to the seller, you're speaking to them on the frickin' phone, and then you have control at least of the outcome if they need your help.
I look at cold calling as, it shouldn't be your only lead source, but it should be one of the core legs to the table that you call marketing. And so you should have, whether it's PPC or PPL, or it's mail, or it's TV, or it's cold call, it needs to be one of the channels for your successful business. And what I find from it is almost every channel has its own pocket of people. It's like going to a real estate event. I can go to one mastermind, and all these guys over here have never heard about this other guy in this other mastermind. And like, these are all like, they all know each other. And it's the same thing with these marketing channels. People respond to mail who are never going to respond to that TV ad, who are never going to respond to that phone call, who might not respond to that text message, etc. So what marketing channels have you had experience with over the past couple of years as well, too, other than cold calling?
Cold calling, Facebook ads, never did direct mail, a little bit of texting, and then I think that was, and PPL.
Okay.
PPL was the only other one.
So I think Facebook ads and cold call, and I'm not saying anything negative, these are my observations, but I think they have a lot of similarities. I think that they can very easily produce, if not done correctly, high funnel, low intent, or high funnel, low actionability. And so it's like, it's that top, the where you don't want. The people who are, I'm just maybe looking for a price on my house, or I'm a realtor, or I'm whatever it may be, versus you have to have a really good dialed in Facebook campaign to be able to get those people who are actually looking and motivated to sell, as well as a really good cold call routine to get those low funnel leads there. So walk us through your education curve on Facebook leads, how you were able to dial it in, or things that you found that were tough about Facebook.
Yeah, so honestly, for Facebook leads, for us, when we first started, we only started spending about a G a month. And that return was ridiculous. We had like a 20x return.
Yes.
Then we ramped it up to 7,500 a month, and that return just started progressively going down. And I think the biggest issue was like, we were targeting metro areas. We were not targeting like statewide leads, which a lot of people in the Facebook ad space try to do.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, even when we're targeting the metro areas, 90% of our deals at one point were all out of these metro areas, because maybe someone lives in Dallas, they got a property in Louisiana.
And then they traveled to that area, and all of a sudden they're being geotagged and shown the leads.
Exactly. And that's where, like, we had some good deals, I'm not going to lie, from those Facebook ads. But I actually fully pulled out of them after, I want to say, almost a year straight into them. Yeah. And then I went back into the cold calling, because the cold calling for me was more targeted.
What I love about cold calling, I think a lot of people don't appreciate, is that you get to curate your buy box. There's no other marketing channel. I can't pay Meta enough money to be able to say, only show this ad to 3 bedrooms built in 1960. There's nothing that I can do with PPC to be able to give me that. There's no TV station. There's no radio channel that allows me to do that. And so that's what I love about cold calling, because if you know what your buyers are looking for and you're in tune with them, you can begin to curate those types of deals. People that do have equity, people that do have a distress flag. And that's why I love cold calling. The thing I was telling you over lunch about Facebook leads, I didn't share this with you though. Somehow my phone and Zuckerberg, he's like letting me see the underbelly of the industry right now. There's no way I should be seeing everybody in the industry's ads. And if you go through my news feed right now, it is every I buy homes for cash person in Meta, and it's every social influencer. So I'm watching all these guys out there, all these, I didn't know all you guys had courses, this many courses. And it's literally, it's nothing but course, I buy homes cash. And I'm saying, first off, number one, okay, all these people are getting screwed on impressions and clicks because I'm clicking your stuff, but they're getting screwed on impressions and clicks because it shouldn't be showing it to me outside of the country. So there's some geofencing that's broken on this regards. But the second part is, it's so interesting because once you click on I'll buy your house for cash, it immediately after submission is going to show you somebody else who buys homes for cash, and then somebody else who buys homes for cash. I feel like they're the most stepped on, to use a drug reference, but the most stepped on leads that you could possibly do, where it's like, ooh, you want to sell your house for cash? I'm going to show you 15 other people in the same market that are willing to sell the same. They're willing to buy your house for cash too. And I just didn't realize it was that bad with Facebook. I think what it is more people are in that channel now than were there 2 or 3 years ago.
Absolutely.
So it's getting more repetitive display marketing.
100%. No, I was seeing that. And then like you would get a deal under contract, for example. And then like 2 days later, seller's trying to cancel. And it's because they probably got 10 other calls offering higher than our price. For me, as long as in that situation, as long as you have rapport with the seller and like a good enough relationship, they'll understand that they're going to try to outbid you just to come right back down to your price anyways. So that's what most of our sellers we work with understand. But you can't control everything. And when they're just getting targeted like that, it is just like they're going to want to go with other people. Sometimes it's not every seller, but they're 1 out of every 10 that'll happen to.
Yeah, and it also talks about the quality of the pitch, which is one of the things that over lunch we were just discussing so much is about how we feel about the quality of the conversations and how much we're investing into them and doing the right thing, et cetera, et cetera. If you build a good enough rapport with somebody, most of the times they're not going to continue to get form heavy. Your issue is the gap between when they complete the form and when you start your conversation. If you're on Facebook or BPC and you're not aggressively on the phone with that lead, the moment that thing gets converted, you are screwed because they're going to that next person and that next person and that next person. And it's just amazing how many people in the REI space don't call the damn leads.
Oh, it's insane. And it's like 60 seconds. Like that lead gets filled out. If you're not on it within 60 seconds, the likelihood of that lead answering you, let alone closing with you, goes down like I don't know the percentage, but it's fucking bit.
Yeah. I think we have a lot of alignment in kind of our sales processes. Since this is your first time here and outside of this little studio here, we got a big call center, a little sales floor out there. What were your first impressions coming into Lamasu today and actually seeing it firsthand?
The energy here is fucking crazy. Like, so when we used to, like, the call center I was in was not that, not even remotely that.
Great.
And like, there's people freaking screaming every 5 minutes in here. You got the horns going, the music's playing. Like, you guys need energy to be on the phones. You can't just like think you're going to come in, go through a script, like without the energy. That energy that he has in this fucking room, that's what's going to drive a lot of sales. Because think about it. If I'm a seller and you call me and you're just like, hi, how's it going, man? And like, you just sound all fucking down and slow. You're not going to get they could want to sell their house more than fucking anybody, but they're not going to want to do business with you because you sound like you sound like shit, and 2, you're not going to get it fucking done.
I'm saying things I probably wouldn't normally say on a podcast because we got guys here. But, every man loves when a girl says, I don't normally be doing this. And on the phones, it is amazing when the seller's like, I don't normally stay on the phone with you guys. You know what I mean? It's like they get cold calls all the time, but when the energy's right and your tonality's right, you just know you got them locked in within like 30 seconds. They catch themselves like, oh shit, I'm still on the phone with a cold caller. And the customer's like, I normally hang up on you guys by now. And then they go through with it and you get to qualify them to see there with their service. It's like when a customer gives you their credit card and they're like, thank you for helping me today. It's like, oh, fucking right. You just know you've done the right job.
100. And with that familiarity, when they like have that happen in their mind, a lot of times it's almost like, wait, this is meant to be. Like maybe I should listen a little further. And that's when you get a seller that says that to you, like they start thinking destiny type shit. You're fucking close.
You got them locked in.
Yeah.
And we were talking about being dialed in and the energy. And I do this just because it's a business. People are paying me. And so if you have VAs or cold callers and you're doing your own team and it's not something like this, dude, I block on the computers. I block everything, dude. I block Facebook. I block TikTok. I block Instagram. I block YouTube. I don't block Spotify because I need, when that lead pops up, I don't need a millisecond that their eyes are not dialed in, locked in. Almost everybody's standing at every moment here in this office because the energy's so high. But I don't need them watching a YouTube video over here and be like, hi, Barbara. Hey, Barbara. Like, I want them, boom. Hey, Barb. Boom. And they're immediately into their pitch. So I have to take those measures to make sure they're just as dialed in as a qualifier that works here as I'd expect a closer to be.
And that first 5 seconds on a cold call is the most important part. If you start off that call like shit, you have to now draw yourself back in. Versus you start with good energy, you sound good, like they're already feeling like they want to talk to you.
I don't know how much of it's true. We make up these stats, and this is what I train people on. But I say you have 7 seconds to make your first impression. But the reality is dialers eat up 3 to 4 seconds of it because the dialer's already connected to the customer because it's taken that millisecond to get to you. Sometimes the customer's already said hello before it actually pops on your screen. So your first 7 seconds of impression, you only get 3 seconds. So those first just the tonality and the firmness. And I said this to the team today. I said, you know what my favorite lead is? It's your guy's least favorite lead. I guarantee you right now, this entire floor's least favorite lead is a 35 to 55-year-old male because you guys are intimidated because you don't know how to make your voice a little bit deeper and you don't know how to talk to them with authority and you don't know how to have that. And because they'd rather talk to Gladys. Well, hi, Gladys. Are you interested in potentially selling your house? Like, that's easy to do. Anybody can fucking talk to Gladys. But 100%. It's the guy who's 44 years old, whose daughter's sick, that now all of a sudden he's got this catastrophe in his life. He's not going to be open and warm. So we got to be the professional. We got to create certainty in that call. And that's why I love training these guys. And so you have your own cold callers as well, too. Walk us through some of the things that you train your cold callers on, some of the tactic strategies. I'll share some as well too, so that way any of these guys out there that have their own cold callers, you can deploy this in your own systems.
Hell yeah. So talking about what you were basically just saying with that 35 to 50-year-old male seller, a lot of times they're like a red personality or your A-type personality where they're just going to hit you like, what do you want? What are you offering? Mm-hmm. And they're just coming hard at you. So one of the things I've learned, if you guys have ever heard about mirroring, you kind of got to mirror them. And it's basically like, you can't be an asshole, right? Like, I can't just hit you and be like, this is what I'm offering, because then they're not going to want to do business with you either. But what you do have to do is you do have to hit them a little hard. Yes. Like, look, this is why I'm calling you. And then you bring it down. Yes. And you bring it to where you want to go. So it's in the tonality and the inflections of your voice. But like, you got to be quick with them. You can't, with someone like that, if you're sitting back in your seat, like, you're not going to be able, unless like you've been doing it for fucking years and you, like me and you, we can probably inject it like this the same way I could standing up. But if you haven't been at that point, you got to be standing, you got to be ready. Like, you got to have the baseball bat, some shit that's going to make you have that energy. And then when you hit them hard like that, it almost will disarm them almost instantly sometimes. It's not going to be perfect, but it will absolutely hit them where you need to.
I know it's another bad analogy that they'll probably want to edit out and post out, but it's like two aggressive dogs sniffing each other. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, we want to assert that we're on the same page getting out of the gates. That's what I have to share with these kids. The hardest part about my job is not hiring people with great English fluency. I can test that out. The hardest part about my job is taking kids that have done customer service for 5 to 8 years of their life and giving them back confidence in themselves, giving them back confidence on the phone. Because for 7 years, they answered the customer service line for Target. And when your order was screwed up and you berated them, they were contractually obligated to say, yes, sir, I'm so sorry. Your order didn't appear. And so for years, they've lost their confidence. That is the number one thing that I have to overcome, to give them the ability to dance with people, to do a takeaway. The strongest thing that you can do is do the takeaway on these sellers out there. And it just building confidence is one of the things that we really, really focus on here.
Absolutely. So with the takeaway, meaning like you sound like you don't look like you're looking to sell, something along those lines?
Yeah, the takeaway as in like, especially at the end, if they have a price that's preposterous, we'll just be like, hey, I completely understand not all of our investors are willing to pay above retail for this property. We're not a good fit for everybody. That type of like, hey, listen, I'm calling to give you an opportunity. I hope that this qualifies. I hope that this works for you. And just being able to have that position of authority where somebody's like, dude, sir, I completely understand. I'm sure it's been a tough day for you. My objective here is to find a way to create a win-win situation. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it does, then we'll move forward and hopefully we'll be able to help you out of this property. But stuff like that, just give them the ability to dance with people and not take shit. And then especially for my girls, all of my girls here, when they click a guy for being nasty over the phone, they love it. Because they've worked at jobs before where if a guy said something that was repulsive, they had to stay on the phone with them. And I'm like, they can be like, oh, screw your mom. And click. And so, it's just a matter of giving them phone confidence, et cetera, et cetera. It's not necessarily strategy, but it's something that I have to overcome. Going back to what you were saying about the first few seconds of the phone, walk me through how you guys train on your opening. Are you calling names? Kind of like, how are you doing your first few seconds typically?
So we're basically saying like, hi, name. First couple of seconds on the phone, it's not, hi, how are you? Like, I have never fucking spoken to you in my life. I don't know you. Why should I care how you are? Nor do you care how I am. So when the first 3 seconds on the phone, it's like, hey, John, this is Joey. I'm calling to see if you're looking to sell your property. Say, who am I? Why the fuck am I calling? And usually sometimes it's when the fuck can I get off the phone? That's what the first 3 things anybody on a cold call is thinking. Yep. So if you can address those 3 things right out the gate, then they're going to calm down a little bit and they're going to probably stay on the phone if they need your help.
Talking about the psychology behind that, how we train people is we're creating certainty. Number 1, we're creating certainty in the agent. Second, we're creating certainty into the product. And third, we're creating certainty about the affiliate that we're going to pass them off to. So the first thing is that exactly what you said. It's like me. Okay, am I a scam? That's all that they're worried about. And you also got to understand where people's sales resistance is at based off of their previous experiences. You're a cold caller. For God's sakes, you're what everybody knows is the worst thing that exists on the face of this earth, right?
Other than door knockers.
Yeah, other than door knockers. Sometimes even worse because they hear about it on the news. You scammed a grandma, all these other things. So to be able to get in that power position, how we do ours is we're like, Joey? So we want to hit them with that friendly tonality, a little deceptive, I'm not lying, but where it's like we're saying, hey, Joey, I want them to think, oh, do I know this guy in that first millisecond? Hey, we're calling in regards to something important on your property. And then we don't do street number, we do street name. On Upstreet herein, and we always say herein, so that way we feel local, here in Richmond, Virginia. And at that stage, typically what people will say, they'll either say, what's wrong? What's happening? Okay. And it's at least inquisitive enough where most people think, okay, do I know this guy? That millisecond has passed. Oh, is it like the waterworks? Is it somebody with the electricity? Because they know the property. Oh, it must be somebody local. And so we use that just to diffuse that first few seconds. And then we'll go into, and they'll say whatever they're going to say. Then we'll go into, hey, the reason why I'm giving you a call, XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. So that's what we've learned is just to, at least for sure, always start with that person's first name. We're not, hey, Mr. Bibbo. No, it's like, Joey, boom. And then for God's sakes, if a woman answers and the lead record says, Joey, John Smith, and a woman answers, Mrs. Smith, let's go with that. Don't say, can I speak with Joey? No, just talk to Mrs. Smith for a second, then ask for that transfer if you have to.
Exactly. And they'll tell you if it's not their house anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, oh, it's my husband's, whatever. Like, they'll tell you in 2 seconds. So that's, and you, on the beginning of the call, like, you just have to go in hard. You can't just come in like, hey, Joey, this is Johnny calling. How you doing today? Like, that's just gonna, they want to know who you are. Why the fuck are you calling? That's the most important part to hit.
Yeah, and two, for you guys and gals that have teams, the reason why English fluency to me, here's my favorite thing to do. I'll get somebody who's like, dude, I wanted to hire you guys. I've heard good things about you guys, but I've used cold callers for years and it's kind of sucked. And I'm like, okay, cool. Give me the exact, everything that you guys have been doing. Give me the exact data. Give me that exact file. It's just amazing how much further I can do than the other guy is doing just because of the accent and the opening. If you have a clean accent, people are actually like wanting to talk to you. And those are some of the like really, really small things. So we talked about kind of like the opening, et cetera, et cetera. I think that me and you, we were going through our review process. How'd you feel about our lead form here that we use here in our office?
That lead form's ridiculous, bro. Like my cold callers are literally just in a ready mode dialer and they don't have anything remotely to that. And that's things I got to start implementing because like they're basically just doing it the old fashioned way, the way I used to do it. Yeah. And then as I saw the process, I mean, fuck, there's a lot of changes we got to make on the cold calling side of it. Because right now my acquisition team is definitely shuffling through a lot of leads that is just wasting time on right now.
What I discovered when I came into this industry, and I actually hired a group they told me they were in Panama, but I found out they were in Egypt. And that was the first guys I ever hired, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, you bastards. As soon as I saw like Muhammad, I was like, wait a minute, this is not Panamanian. Anyways, but to get to the bottom of it, what I didn't understand is they were like, hey man, you got to hire cold callers. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'll hire your cold callers. This is before I ever had my own office. And then they were like, but by the way, you also need to hire some lead managers. And I was like, well, what do I need lead managers for? Well, they're like, well, they're going to screen your calls and then they'll call that lead back and then they'll transfer to you. I was like, so wait a minute. First off, operationally, I hate that. You mean Gladys Smith, who's 86 years old in Georgia, has got to hear somebody with a really shitty accent, have a conversation, then talk to somebody else, have that conversation, and then hopefully I can get them 3 contacts to 1? Well, and this is how I knew the game was screwed. I said, well, can't I just hire a team of leads managers so I don't need you guys to touch the leads twice? They're like, that's not how it works. And that's what made me start Llama. So I was like, why can't I have closer quality agents doing my fronting? So that way I don't need a babysitter in between. And so I think that's the power of having these more in-depth quality leads. It's like, okay, these might be less leads, but you're going to have longer conversations.
And that's the point of the whole game. I mean, do you want to call 50 leads to get 1 contract, or do you want to call 15 to 20 leads to get a freaking contract? Yeah. Once you get into the game, like if you're brand new, you got to do the cheaper shit, obviously. But as you start getting into it, I'd rather call 20 leads or 5 leads and get a fucking contract than sit here and shuffle through 50 leads. Because if you look at the time you're spending on all of this shit, you can't lock up as many deals. And for me, if I could lock up 2-3 deals a day versus 1,
yeah.
Which one do you want to fucking do?
So we dropped some gems on the intro. We're going to skip most of the sales process. Let's go towards maybe like closing. What do you think a lot of people in this industry struggle with on the closing side or maybe the offer side, but you know, past the rapport, past the discovery that you do towards the end? What are maybe some gems that you can share with people there?
I mean, most people on the closing side, first of all, let them go way too easily. That was one of the lessons I had to learn personally on my closing process when I was in the closing seat. It's just like, guys, get to the real no. And there's a lot of things like people are like, oh, well, I don't like being too aggressive because I don't want to be like an aggressive salesperson. That's not why I got into it. And at the end of the day, all it comes down to is like, are you being aggressive and being ugly about it? Or are you being aggressive because you know that if they do need your help and you're the one that could help them, sometimes it's getting their ego to drop to get them to accept the offer. Yeah. Sometimes you got to push them that far. And it's not a bad thing if you have the right intention. Because trust me, there's some fucking scumbags. They're extremely aggressive, and that's just the way they do it. And I don't like that side of it. But if you got into it for the right reasons and you can push them to get to, look, it doesn't mean they're going to sign. But you, at least if I know, okay, like I got the offer out, you accepted it, but you don't want to sign the contract. Let me figure out why you don't want to sign the contract. See if I can handle it right now. Because my team, we do a 1-call close. We don't, and not just a 1-call close like I'm sending you the fucking contract. Like, no, we keep you on the phone until you sign the contract. And that takes just, instead of saying, do you mind if I put you on hold? I'm putting you on hold. Give me 2 seconds. Boom, click the hold button. And it's those little tricks and adding that pressure if they're not willing to sign, and then just figuring out why. And then once you know why, it's like, think about how many times your salespeople are chasing people that aren't even going to do business with you. At least I know, like, okay, if I'm following up with you because you didn't sign, you actually have to talk to your lawyer, or like you wanted to talk to your mom about it or dad who was in the business and he wouldn't get on the phone with me on that call. Sometimes you're gonna have to let them go, but at least control everything and push them to that point so you know what's going on.
And he's speaking like a true business owner, because I think I meet a lot of guys and they're like, hey man, I'm ready to scale. They have their own shop. It's mainly them in acquisitions. And all of a sudden they're hiring their first closers and they lose something. There's something neurological that happens for guys like us who own the company where we know that lead costs $225 and we can feel that $225. But a closer who just opened up a CRM and got 15 fresh leads doesn't understand that that's $4,000 worth of spend right there. So they tend to treat the leads differently. And like if you could wave a magic wand and you wanted to fix any sales organization out there, you would have the closers pay for the leads. Right there, this persistence that you're talking about would be solved because it's money out of their pocket. And so what he is saying is correct, is now we got to train you as closers to be pleasantly persistent. And I find that people who aren't pleasantly persistent typically don't appreciate the value of the leads, or they don't believe in the product. Because if you really believe that buying this house was the best absolute strategy for them in this economy and with everything going on out their world and with their problems, you wouldn't dare. It's like your buddy was thinking about, he's got an alcohol problem, he's got a drug problem, and he's thinking about going into recovery. And you're like, yeah, you maybe should, maybe shouldn't. It's cool. Yo, you were thinking about it? Yeah, if I take a couple of days. It's like, no, if you really cared about this person, you would want to see what's best for them happen. And I think that's it. It's just closers don't pay for the leads. And sometimes they just don't believe enough to fight for the seller. Not for your commission check. Fight for the seller. The commission check comes next.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing. You need the value, you need the belief. And if you don't believe yourself and what you're saying and what you're doing, then the seller's not going to do business with you either. And that's another huge part of it with sales, is like, if you got to have that belief in yourself, the product, and then that is the best solution for the seller, if it is. And trust me, there's times where it's like a retail fucking lead, can't novate it, and I'm going to let the seller go. And I'm trying, and if I can help them, maybe I'll get a realtor and get a referral that way. Something like that.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think that just being able to stick through the end of the process is important. Let's talk about lead nurturing. I think that's another thing maybe we could offer some insights for these guys on. What's kind of your process? Do you use any technology? Do you have any drip sequencing? Are you doing follow-ups? What's going on the nurturing side?
So we have an AI bot right now that will, let's say someone calls in our CRM, we don't answer, it'll respond to them, have a conversation with them, warm them back up. That's part of our CRM. I'm building out, right now we have a 30-day follow-up sequence. I'm building out all of our nurture sequences. So right now, physically, no, I don't have all of the tech sequences built out, but it's going to be all through Go High Level, and it's all going to be automated. So once a lead comes into our system, not only are we going to call them, but they're also going to get the nurtures going forward.
I definitely would encourage you as well to extend it out. Thank you. Past 30 days. What I discovered about this industry when I first came into it is I feel like the industry has been taught by a lot of gurus who were taught by the same gurus. So there's a lot of repetitive information. And why not? Guys, if you want to start your own real estate course, just buy somebody else's real estate course, swap out their logos, put your own, you're in business automatically. That's 70% of this industry is fucking just recycled shit. On the inverse side of that, though, one of the things I saw is okay, everybody's really good at teaching people how to nurture uncontacted leads. Hey, you hit my CRM and we've been following up for 3 days and we'd like to present you an offer. And that's really important. But I think the most important nurture are the go F yourself leads. People said, I would never sell for that price. I am no longer interested. Oh, that offer sucks. And all these reasons why they say no, and they mean clear, definitive no's. That's where the money's at. These are people that we know want to sell because they went all the way through a consultation with you and the numbers didn't work out. Well, time and circumstances happens to all of us here. All of us, time's going to pass, circumstances are going to pass. And you just want to be there front line with them. And so to me, I saw that in this industry. I said, man, we need to start teaching people how to do better terminated leads nurturing, because that's where the gold's at in the follow-ups, the people who told you no.
Absolutely. And we have that naturally right now with follow-up systems on the call side. Now it's just trying to build it on the tech side too, because that's just going to, if you have text automatically going out plus your acquisition team doing it, it's touching it from a couple different angles. And then it used to be RVMs and other shit, but you just got to be careful with that stuff.
We had somebody ask in the comments on live, they said, hey man, what's the difference, would you say is the difference between a cold caller and a closer? The mindset difference, et cetera, et cetera.
A cold caller is somebody that is basically just going out there and scraping for the leads, right? So I think the mindset difference, I think a cold caller can be a closer. Absolutely. It's just where are you at in your process? Where are you at in your training? And also what's your capability? Yep. I feel like both need sales skills though, honestly. 100%. It's not, I was about to say maybe a closer has better sales skills, but no, a closer is just somebody that they've usually either gone through the cold calling seat or they've built those sales skills and then they have the knowledge and the capability to be able to physically close the seller, because you need that belief. Yeah. And not even just that belief, you need the knowledge, because if you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to the high level parts of a sale on selling someone's house or different strategies like cash, novation, creative, then you probably should stay in the cold calling seat for a little bit. Yeah. Once you start getting those skills, absolutely, you could be anybody could be a closer as long as you want it and have that belief.
I always think about it, it's we always say the process is stronger than the people. So it can be taught, but two, for me, I think of it almost I'll use an analogy like a swimming pool in the ocean, in the middle of the ocean. Okay, being a cold caller is like being in a swimming pool over your head. You can still screw it up. You can still not be successful. You can still drown, but you need to have swimming skills. Same thing with being in the ocean. You need to have swimming. You just got to have better swimming skills. So it's the same concept. It's just more is at risk. There's more danger, and you need to be more talented. So it's just a deeper version of what you're doing over here. You're still building rapport. You're still creating value. You're still doing discovery. You're still, in theory, presenting an offer or positioning an offer. And really, as a closer, you're presenting that offer that you've positioned. And so it's like the same thing, just deeper. But it's two different things. Like we keep our fronters fronting and our closers closing. And it's different objections and rebuttals. The worst thing that can happen is some people can never turn that hat, and they keep on treating this position like a fronter, or they treat this one like a closer, and they're closing in the front and it's not ready to be closed yet. So I think once you make that step, if you're qualified enough and you make that step, you're really going to find a lot of similarities. You just got to detach and go deeper.
I have a question for you literally on this now. Someone asked me a couple weeks ago, what do you feel about having your VAs, like your cold callers, close as well if they can close on that call? What I said was absolutely not. Like, I want each department to be different, because like when your VAs are closing a lead, who's cold calling and who's nurturing more leads?
Yeah, I think I agree with that reason as well too. But also too, it's two objections, two different rebuttals, two different skill sets. There's a lot of things that are different. And also the KPIs are wildly different. Like the whole point is we should have a military style team. And in any sport, you're going to have JV and pros. And so I also want to create that delineation between JVs and pros. When I get that question a lot, what I find is somebody's trying to outsource their success and they're not very active in their business. They're like, okay, I got this magical thing I heard about online called wholesaling, and I'm going to outsource my fronters, and I'm going to outsource my closers, and I'm going to outsource my data, and I'm just going to pick up a check. Doesn't happen.
Doesn't work.
That's not how this is. You're involved to some degree or not. Sorry, they keep on handing me phones. Okay, cool. So yes, I will take off my shirt for you.
I was about to say,
no,
I was going to make a...
That's for the ladies in the audience. All right. No. So somebody's saying, how important is it to stick to the script? So what are your thoughts on that? How important is it to stick to the script? Do you guys have a script? Like what's your...
So my closers and cold callers, they all have a script, and it is very important to stick to the script. However, there is a point where you obviously have to delineate away from the script. Like, let's say that an objection comes up. You got to ask what the objection is, handle the objection, and then you move on. And when you move on, where do you go? You go right back to the script. So like when I do call reviews with my team, for example, if they're not taking it verbatim through the script, through the process at least, then what are we doing? Because the script was built for a reason and it all works. So, and not even just that, I mean, scalability. Like if you don't have a script and you're just winging it, because bro, I winged it for a minute. It's not scalable, one, and two, like when I went from maybe a contract a month to 20 contracts a month myself on the phones just from putting a script in place. That was the only change I made.
Yeah, my thoughts are pretty similar to yours, man. I think that in the beginning, scripts are everything. It's the foundation, right? And so I try to impart this on these people. Like I got 23 years now, crazy, of high ticket sales experience. I'll never be better than myself. And what that really means is master my way and then sprinkle yourself on top of it. So like, I can't do that. You get the advantage of, I synthesize all this for you. I want you to go through this. This is a proven process. You will print leads, you will print deals. Let's rock and roll. But ultimately it gets to be your version of my expertise, and that will elevate you to the next level. And Jordan Belfort's got the straight line technique. We call it surfing the straight line. Because we know that you're going to surf, something's going to pop up and you're going to conversate off, but you have to surf right back. So we want you to ride that wave of that conversation where appropriate, but you always come back to the assembly line of that consultation. We're not going to ask what they're looking for. We do it different than RJ. I think a lot of advantage we have to do it different than how RJ does is we're getting the price on the front end. So we're not really worried about talking to a hyper retail lead before we get on the phone. So we don't ask their price till the end of our consultation on the closing side, because we already have their ballpark from the acquisition guys.
So you don't even need it.
We don't really need it. Now we're price checking if they say something funny, but our whole objective is to create commonality, do additional discovery, bring value. And then also too, I think what a lot of people struggle with in this industry is creating scarcity. That like, hey, the sky is falling. Like, whether you do business with me tonight, whether I buy your house or not, you really need to look into getting rid of this property ASAP. If I'm not the right fit for you, the sky is falling, the market is crashing. There's more homes on the market right now. There's more new builds on the market as of January 2025 than there has been in 50 years in the United States. That is a statistical fact that I want them to understand, because every American knows about supply and demand. And so it's those types of things to create scarcity as well too, and have them in your script, but definitely stick to the script.
Scarcity and urgency, absolutely.
Yeah, scarcity and urgency. Okay, any other questions from the side? Okay, this is interesting. Okay, this is a really good one too. So I'll ask you first, what role has AI taking in your business operations, and how do you see its utilization, and maybe improve processes for newer people or in their discovery and education phase? I love this question, by the way. Real.
Yeah. So I have my cold callers actually role play with an AI bot, and it actually responds really fucking good. It's crazy. So that's one thing. I mean, AI in general has actually even just ChatGPT. I need to know something. I put it on ChatGPT. I get answered what I need to get answered. I need to make a new logo for one of my businesses. I put it on ChatGPT. It makes me a fucking logo. I need to build out SOPs for my operating systems in the business. I literally put everything we're doing into ChatGPT, and it makes me my SOPs better than I ever would be able to do it. Honestly, most people I could hire would be.
Yeah, no shit. Dude, I won this belt right here. It's Collective Genius for presenting on our AI QA. So what I did, it took me weeks to create our own custom sandbox, get it set up so that way we could quality control and audit our calls, and to train it in the methodologies that I wanted to. Different, dude, it's got Belfort's training in there. It's got Zig Ziglar's training in there. It's got a script. It's got power words. It's got all that super cool, and has definitely streamlined and made us better. But the craziest thing AI did for sales is I was going back and forth with it on our script. And it said, I was trying to enhance something towards the intro, and it gave me the most powerful word that I've ever had in the REI space. And it was the word story. And it says, because we say, hey, can you tell us about the condition of your property? Now it's suggested to say, blah, 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 tell us about the story on the condition of your property. Tell us the story. What is the story on the condition of your property? It was just to add in that word story. And what that did, first off, I was like, oh yeah, great. But it turns these fucking people into like they're reading books to their grandkids. It's like, and instead of just like, hey, the condition of my property, it's in fairly good shape. Well, it's actually in pretty good shape because we've been doing this, this, and this. That one word story. And I've studied strategic words. I understand power phrases, but I'd never used that word story before. It just had never crossed my mind when asking a discovery type question. And it really does. It changes the tonality of their responses because they go into story mode. And I think that's the biggest impact that's made. So now I use it all the time to tell me the story, what's happening in your business today. Hey, instead of just saying, hey, what's happening in your business, tell me the story on what's happening in your business today. It's such a fucking powerful word.
It's going to open anybody up.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, literally, thanks GPT and the whole group. Cool. All right, so, dude, I think that's pretty good, man. I think is there anything that you think you've missed out that we haven't shared that would be kind of like a good gold nugget for somebody out there?
If you just the belief thing, I think that's one of my biggest things is like, it's not only do I have to believe in what I'm selling, the seller has to believe that you're the one that's going to get it done. If the seller doesn't have that belief in you that you're the one that's going to get it done, they're not going to do business with you. So by the time you're done with that call, you have to make sure you do everything in your power so they do believe that. And that also takes out, I don't believe in competition, guys. Like there is no such thing as competition when they're on the phone with me because my competition gets beat out literally by them having that belief that like they know they're not getting it done. We're going to get it done for you. And that really that was one of the biggest like little tweaks I made was understanding that fact. And then that's the main thing I go after on these calls now.
If I was like off stage listening to him say that, I'd whisper to somebody who said, I see he's talking about certainty. I see he's talking about transference of feelings because that's really what sales is. Like the way he's able to create that in his prospect is because he felt it first. Like I am the best thing. Like there is no competition. I am the best. But the only reason why that got transmuted through the ether in the phone from country to person to person is because sales is literally a transference of feelings. And if I can get my prospect to feel how I feel about this product, then they will move forward with the services. And that's it. That's a great way to end it, man. How did people find you? Find out about your community? Go find you with or without clothes on. Always with bottoms. I've never seen anything where he doesn't, thankfully.
Always with bottoms. We're good, guys. Shirtless Closer on Instagram. Give me a follow on Instagram. I got a community. We do 3 weekly calls. Every Friday, it is free for the public. So hit me up if you guys just want to check it out first. And then every Monday, it's sales training. And Wednesday, we do comp training. So school community, hit me up on Instagram. Best place to reach me or Joey Bibbo on Facebook.
Cool, guys. We appreciate you. I appreciate you coming out, my man.
Oh, yeah, thanks
Thank
for
you for
having me.
coming all the way down here to be it. Check us out, synergydata.io for all your real estate leads. If you like this video, you found value in this video, comment, like, subscribe, share it on social media. Thanks, guys.